Naomi, thank you so much for meeting up with me today. I know that, we've been in contact, well, over the pandemic, haven't we, sort of on and off, and we've seen each other online, but we've very rarely had the chance to really have a chat and get to know each other, and also what each of us are up to. And we were chatting last week that there's definitely quite a lot of synergy between the two of us and what we are trying to achieve, which is help event professionals and get into the world of events and really educate people what events are and what the world of exhibitions and conferences looks like, and how graduates or anyone who is interested in getting into the industry can start that journey, and what the career prospects looks like overall, really, because it can be quite daunting and confusing. And I think I mentioned to you last week, I did events management at uni. Nobody told me anything about exhibitions or conferences.
I would love to find someone who's gone into event management as a degree or education of some sort, who is looking for exhibitions and conferences, and that's what they're going into it for, because there is such a demand for festivals and weddings, and that's what they go in with the knowledge of, because that's what they've maybe experienced before going into education. But then you learn that there's a big wide world out there, and the sector is huge, and there's so many opportunities with transferable skills.
Oh yeah, so many. But I have to say, I think probably 95% of people that I know in this industry always tell me that they just fell into it. Like they just found it somehow. So how do we change that? Oh, I fell into the industry, to, well, I knew I always wanted to work in exhibitions and conferences. How do you change that? Absolutely.
It's funny because I've always said I fell into it, but I wonder, and I look back and I see the path that led me to where I am now, and that sounds very deep. But even looking back to when I was at school, I was an events and safety prefect or something like that. I went for head girl. There was no way I was getting it, so I think they gave me whatever was left. School was not my forte, but doing events then, it was like the graduation ball, there was the after parties, things like that, and that's what we organised. And it's funny looking back then that even events wasn't promoted or discussed as a career path, or at least a viable one that the schools were going to put effort into you wanting to achieve. It's interesting. I think it maybe needs to start a bit earlier, and for that to be I didn't do business management in school, but I do wonder, for example, subjects like media and business management, if events is discussed.
Yeah, well, interestingly, I did do media studies at school. So I did media studies and theatre and art and dance. So anything that didn't involve sitting down and writing, basically anything that didn't involve maths, and no, I don't remember anything about exhibitions. Media studies was very much around film, print, that kind of thing, and I guess maybe there wasn't really, it was really kind of before social media. That's showing my age, but really before social media had hit the world by storm, and everyone was using it on a daily basis. It was before then, so there was nothing on that either. But it's definitely an industry, and when I say industry, I mean exhibitions and conferences specifically, that isn't shouted about enough. So we do need to change that. So I think it's probably best, Naomi, if we just start with, what it is you are doing. If you can summarize that for me. And, people might know you from seeing EventGrads, so Naomi and EventGrads, how the two come together, where it all started and what the idea was behind it. So there you go.
Big question. Cool. How do I do this in less than a good 2 hours? EventGrads is a community for event management students and graduates like myself, if I can still call myself a graduate. So I studied international event management at Glasgow Caledonian University, graduated in 2019. That's how I fell in love with the industry, really. And when the pandemic hit, I was made redundant from one of my graduate jobs, and I think that hit me really hard, because it was one of those things where you had just put your foot in the industry, you had just graduated, you're ready to propel your career, and it was kind of taken from underneath us. And I think at that stage of our career, we didn't really know that much about the wider industry. We were still quite brand new, despite the experience we'd got throughout our educational journey.
Yeah.
So it was quite disheartening because you're like, what do I do now? You know, we were the first to kind of be made redundant and to get to lose our jobs. And that's kind of where EventGrads came about, because I'd done a ton of courses. I was trying to keep myself relevant. I was reaching out on LinkedIn and I was like, what's everyone else doing? Like, how are other people in my position dealing with this scenario? So I made a Facebook group, added my friends that I knew that were in events, that were in my course. And I just kind of shared the courses I was doing. I was like, what are you guys up to? Like, what more can I do? What more can we do together? And that's when we realized we all had the same concerns, issues, the things we were dealing with. We were all so like-minded. You know, it was things from our family don't quite understand the industry, so there's that. There was the lack of government support, and hearing things like just retrain, and you're like, yeah, great, 4 years of education for nothing. And then it was even the professionals didn't know what to do, and I think that hurt a lot. But not hurt, but it was difficult for us because we would usually turn to the professionals, and even
there was no guidance. Nobody knew what to do, did they?
Exactly. And we felt for them, but there was nothing we could really do for it. And it, you know, so the group continued to grow as I continued to share it online. And during the pandemic, when I was still made redundant, I had a small job in hospitality for a while, lost that as they were closed for 6 months over, I think it was like October 2020 to like June the next year. It was crazy. So I was made redundant again, you know, very disheartened, just, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Unemployed for 6 months. How did I forget that word after all?
It's a word that you don't want to have to use, really, isn't it? There you go.
Put that to the back of your mind. So during that period of time, I was doing webinars, blog posts, reaching out to loads of people. We were doing EventGrads Cafe, which was just like a very casual, get to know people face-to-face kind of thing online.
That sounds amazing.
It was really wholesome. And we've met some, like, through EventGrads, a lot of people have met some of their closest friends, have got to know others in their university or courses, or in their sector, or in their, you know, their city or their town, that they wouldn't have met otherwise. And I think like peer-to-peer support is so important, and that exchange of knowledge. But in university, it can be quite like, I didn't know people in the year above me. I didn't know people from universities near me. You know, there's competition in universities.
Yeah.
So it's become a journey, and it's become the best thing to ever happen to me, which is saying something, considering it came from quite a tough situation. But
these are some of the best stories that I hear, you know, and it's their success stories, and it's like, how can you take something really bad and turn it around, and, you know, take what you can from what was like a bad situation. And it's a great success story. It's very motivating.
Thank you. I remember saying, like, even at the beginning, I needed to take control of an uncontrollable situation, and that's how I dealt with what was happening and dealt with what was going on in my mind during the period of the pandemic. And I also did up my room for 2 weeks. Like, there was a lot of things I did before EventGrads started, but I needed to put my energy into something. And I think
it's amazing. Good for you.
Professionals, we have to keep busy. Like, I think it's kind of within us.
In your
busy.
DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So how many people do you have now? And is it just still Facebook, or are you across different channels?
We're across different channels, but the Facebook group itself is dedicated to students, graduates, and like young professionals, or those very interested in joining the industry from school. So there's over 1,500 in the Facebook group alone, which is really wonderful. And then across our social media platforms, LinkedIn is our biggest. There's 4,700, if I'm correct in saying.
Wow.
So across all socials, it's between 8,000 and 9,000 people, which is insane.
That is a lot of people that you know, Naomi.
I've always been a connector, but this is, the network's grown.
That's amazing. And are you able to track which regions all these EventGrads are coming from?
So on LinkedIn, it's really handy. Their analytics are really, really good. And it seems to be London is the biggest, which is really cool. And then it seems to be, I think it's London, Manchester, Scotland at the moment, which is really lovely. And that's quite big hubs for events as well, like London and Manchester specifically. So it's really good to see. And it's good to see the different levels that are following us as well, from, you know, entry level to junior to senior and director level, which is it's crazy that they really want to get involved with the younger generation.
Yeah. So do you get a lot of people, a lot of companies coming to you directly saying, you know, I've heard about what you're up to. Do you know anybody that might be looking for a job?
Yeah, daily we get emails from the most incredible companies. I had a BBC article not that long ago that I was featured in, and I got quite a lot from that, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But it's really wonderful to see these people finding us, where they're finding us, the fact that they're interested in, you know, this next generation, and they want the jobs that are coming through are really good opportunities, really what the next generation are looking for in regards to transparency, responsibility, you know, benefits and things like that. Great opportunities that are coming through. So it's really wonderful to be able to share that with the group, and for the group to be able to receive these and go for these opportunities.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And have you heard any success stories yet?
Do you know, I had a really lovely LinkedIn message not that long ago from someone who got a job that was shared through EventGrads, and they were like, I would not have got this opportunity or this job if it wasn't for EventGrads. And I think that's where it hits home, I think, because you're doing it for, I do it for my, like, the fun, to be honest, and because I really thoroughly enjoy it. But to see the impact it has on others, I think, is really the reason behind it all. And I've had a few people even say that they would have left the industry if it wasn't for EventGrads, which takes a whole other level.
It's amazing, Naomi. It's amazing. It makes it all so worth it, and it's very, very rewarding. You know, and I know you say you do it for fun, but that doesn't take away that I imagine you've put in a lot of hard work and a lot of late nights and hours, because not only are you managing EventGrads and that's your baby, but you had a full-time job as well, because you did get a permanent role and you had a full-time job. So you're just managing both, you know. So it's fun, but it's, you know, it has been, you know, has been a lot of long hours, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I think, because you don't realize how much time you're doing it until you have a full-time job and you have to dedicate time to that. But I, of course, have to thank you for that job. And pulling me out of unemployment during the pandemic. It was all thanks to you, and I honestly still can't thank you enough for that.
Oh, no, it's fine. Again, it's, you know, it is about making connections, isn't it? And I think these success stories are just proving that what you've been doing, and I do a lot on LinkedIn, and I try to, and it is just about engaging and making people feel like they can reach out to you. And obviously you've created a really nice, safe environment for the EventGrads to speak with one another. And you mentioned about some of them said they would leave the industry if it wasn't for that. And it is so important that you have that network around you who understand the events industry, because that's the amount of friends and family that were telling me constantly throughout the pandemic, get out of events. And you know, it did cross my mind a few times, you know. I think, you know, or going to IT, everyone's, you know, employing tech people, and the thing is, it just, once you're in events, it's really, you know, as you say, it's in your DNA. It's really, really hard to get out. And, you know, I think for the first month I was probably for the first year I was in denial about the pandemic and the you know, the devastation that it was going to cause to our industry, because I kept thinking, we'll come back soon, and then before you know it, a whole year's gone by and you're like, I don't know if this is going to come back, you know. And well, obviously it had to, but when and how many more people can we lose in our industry? So to have that network and, you know, keep each other, what's the word? It's when, you know, you don't want to get demoralized. So it's like giving each other it's like a boost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that you need, and just knowing that someone else is going through something similar, and this is what we can do. But as you said, you know, to throw yourself in the training, engagement, just keeping yourself up to scratch with all the latest skills. And I think our industry probably needed for a long time to adopt some technology, and a lot of the digital needed to be brought into exhibitions and conferences. So this is certainly, again, for them, you know, silver lining and everything is really pushed them, a lot of organizers, out of their comfort zone to look at those digital events, and a lot of my clients are keeping that hybrid arm as well, which is really, really good. I have a question actually for you though. A few clients come to me, and actually perhaps I should just explain for the EventGrads or your connections what it is I do. That might help. I takes me a while to click. So yeah, they might not know who I am or what the hell I do. So, well, as you know, Expocast, we specialize in recruitment, but purely for the exhibitions and conference industry. And so our clients tend to fall into three categories. You have the exhibition and conference organizers, you have the venues, and then you have suppliers as well. And we cover all discipline areas. So we do sales, we cover marketing, ops, and then the all-encompassing event management roles, and at all levels. So we, more entry levels, and that's where you and I hopefully can work well in the future, and we can support your event grads as much as possible. But also even up to C level. So we have so much fun because we get such a variation of roles. And sometimes clients do come to us and say, we want a marketing exec, event graduate, and we want them to have, 2 or 3 years experience in events. And how do you manage that? Or have you come across that? Because obviously I have to go back to my clients and say, well, they haven't got that. Technically, by now they should have, but we've been in a pandemic. Yeah. So they don't have the, 2 years experience to bring to the table. Have you been hearing that a lot?
Absolutely. It's probably one of our biggest grievances on the Facebook group and the WhatsApp chat from people seeing roles that they feel like they're perfect for, roles they would love to apply for, and just being really disheartened and kind of put off when they read that, looking for an entry level role or even a junior role with 3 to 5 years experience. And especially you see even some that are looking specifically for graduates, and how do they prove that, and how do they, in your experience, do they apply for it anyway? Just, you never know that some of the experience could match up to what they're looking for, or is it that the clients don't really know what they are looking for?
Oh, great question.
Bringing that back.
No, I think both. I think it comes down to, if it's hard to demonstrate your skills and experience on your CV because you've had that lack of experience, then it's about thinking outside the box. How can you try and stand out differently? What can you do? And a lot of that for me is about your personal branding, and putting yourself out there, and don't rely on your CV. Maybe create a video introduction and go and do your research. What type of companies do you want to work for and why? And then stalking them basically on LinkedIn, and sending the HR and the hiring managers an introductory message. This is a little intro video. My CV, I cannot show you on my CV that I've done A, B, and C, but I have done this, this, and this. And I think, how many times do you hear a hiring manager say, it's about the person for me, it's about the energy they bring to the table, and etc. So if you can get that across in a video, or maybe you want to put together a nice presentation, a portfolio of events you've assisted on or that you've volunteered on, because you might not have the work experience, then that definitely sort of creates something different for an employer to look at. So that's one way of, yes, I'd say if there is a role that you think you can absolutely do, but you can't show it on your CV, apply for it anyway, but apply for it in a different way. Think outside the box. So that would be my one bit of advice there. And the answer to your client question is, do we need to educate clients and hiring managers about, I think it's just reminding them sometimes. I think we've all slipped back into habits, and that kind of typical, oh yeah, we need 1 to 2 years experience. It probably sort of habit to just come out, because that's what was always said before. But sometimes it's just reminding them that, well, okay, in 5 years' time, that will be fine to say that. But for now, we need to take into account that they don't have that experience. And also, those grads who graduated 2 years ago are now competing with the graduates who are graduating now. Yes. And they don't, and so we have to just be mindful of that, I think, and give people the benefit of the doubt, and just, just be a bit more open-minded.
Really interesting point. And when you look at like 2 to 5 years experience, whatever it is, what does that actually look like? Like, what are they looking for out of that 1 to 2 to 3 years, 5 years experience? Because I think maybe as a young person coming into the industry, they maybe don't know what that looks like or what they're expecting, on top of maybe what the responsibilities are in the job description. And I think what you've said in regards to getting in touch with HR managers and like linking with people on LinkedIn,
yeah.
I wonder if it's a confidence thing as well, because how do they sell themselves?
It is yeah, it's so true. You know, doing videos or, you know, even like a sort of semi-interview or whatever this is, you know, can be daunting if you've not done it before. And honestly, it's you sort of practice makes perfect in some sense. Like sit with a friend or just people think I'm quite confident because I do a lot of videos on LinkedIn, but what they don't realize is that I've probably spent about 5 hours editing that video before I'm confident enough to send that out. So you know, if you aren't confident, doing something that you can edit or practice like by yourself, and you know, or what I should have said about approaching hiring managers and LinkedIn is actually find yourself a good recruitment consultant, i.e. someone at Expocast who can help you and guide you through that. So if you're not sure what 1 to 2 years experience for an ops exec looks like, come and talk to us and we can tell you. If you want to do something different and outside of, you know, think outside the box and creative in terms of your application, come to us and we'll talk to you. But we invest a lot of time. So when we speak to candidates, normally it's about 45 minutes to an hour initially, and it's a video call going through everything they've done, what they want to do, and looking at their transferable skills. Then that's our job to go and communicate that to the clients. So if you are struggling, you know, getting through that gatekeeper with your CV, go and find yourself a really good recruitment consultant who specializes in the industry you want to work in, and let them do the hard work for you, because that's what we're here. That's why we've spent years and years of networking, building up relationships with clients, so we can have very frank and honest conversations with them. A lot of my clients now, I don't even send CVs anymore. If I speak to somebody who just excites me, I just pick up the phone and I say, I've just met somebody amazing, you need to see them tomorrow. And they're like, oh, okay. All right, well, I've got 12 o'clock free. And that's what it should be like. You know, your recruitment consultant should have that strong relationship with the hiring managers so they can do the hard work for you. That's what another tip I would give, really. There was one thing last week that you said that really interested me. So we are inundated with vacancies at the moment, so much so that we're actually turning away business because we're a small company and we want to provide a quality service, and we just can't do that if we're completely stretched. And some of the roles we've got are sales execs, marketing execs, ops execs, and they are, you know, they are looking for somebody who's a graduate with, you know, 6 to 12 months experience. And I hear you are saying you've got this incredible network and, you know, of EventGrads, and they're, you know, a lot of them are looking for work. And here I am saying I've got so many roles, I can't find anyone. And when we spoke about this, you said, yes, Natasha, there's such a disconnect. Like there is a massive disconnect. And I was racking my brains going, well, what is it? Are we not marketing properly? Is our marketing it doesn't look, I don't know, cool enough for the younger generation? You know, and it's like, what is it? Where is that disconnect? Are we not looking for them in the right place? Are we not using the right hashtags? I mean, honestly, it's very hard to know what it is, but is it because we're not providing them with enough information on the adverts? Is it because the salaries aren't what they're looking for? Is it because they actually want to work in an office and everything is now hybrid? I don't know. I mean, do you know any of those answers?
There's a few things you covered there that's really interesting. I think the disconnect is very real. It's we've got such a demand for roles, and you know, I've put in a post not that long ago being like, right, what is it that, like, what's missing right now? Like, why are you not getting the roles you're looking for? What's happening? A lot, for example, are outside London, and you know, a lot of event roles are heavily concentrated in London. You know, there's Bristol and Bath and places like that people are looking, where there's maybe less roles. But in regards to the recruitment side of things, I think it's a bit of a lack of knowledge from a young person's perspective of what a recruiter actually does and how they can help. I think there's that confidence of reaching out, and you know, it's a vulnerability really to be looking for a role, as we're all aware. And in addition to that, there was something we mentioned before that has just flown out of my brain, but we'll come back to it. Oh my goodness. In regards to what you were saying about salary though, and you know, our generation, or it's not even my generation anymore, the Gen Z generation is very conscientious. You know, they're looking for values that align with theirs. They're looking for a company that's going to look after them well, and more than the benefits that are just legal obligations. You know, they're looking for job descriptions that are transparent in what the role is. It's you know, descriptive in an accurate representation of what they'd be maybe doing day to day. Salaries, I do think that what we get a lot is if I, for example, shared a post that was a job on Facebook, the minute that someone reads it and it doesn't have a salary, they all, there's no salary on this, show the salary. And it's like, I totally understand that, because like, I think maybe in the past it was different, but now if a job doesn't show a salary, they probably won't apply, because they don't know if it's worth their time to put the time into applying for
Honestly,
it.
Naomi, you've just hit a real sore spot there.
I know.
It's you know, I did I was talking at a conference a little while ago, and I asked the room, did I tell you this story?
I'm not sure. Oh,
I'm going to tell you again anyway.
Tell me again.
So I asked the room, so in the room you've got you know, lots of senior leaders in the room, hiring managers, and the whole talk was about recruitment. And I asked everybody there who in the room would apply for a role if the salary wasn't advertised. Okay, I'd say 95% of the room put their hand up. No, we wouldn't apply for that role. Okay, totally get it. It could be a waste of your time. You apply and then, you know, you find out it's 20 grand more or less than what you're looking for. Yeah. So then I asked the audience, the same audience, the question of who here advertises roles without salaries on? And they nearly all of them put their hands up. And I was like, guys, come on, like, you're sitting here saying it's really hard to recruit. What can we do? And yet it's there, it's right in front of you. The way to look at recruitment is to put yourself in the candidate's shoes. Yeah. Okay, well, if I was looking for a job, what would I want to see on the job description? What would be important to me? You know, and again, that's why it's great us tapping into you and your knowledge of the EventGrads, because we really need to start thinking like them. Well, of course I can't, because I'm like 20 years too old for that, but it's like, yeah, we need to be having these conversations with people and go, well, what are you looking for? What do you want? But salary is so key. I can't stress enough. Now, a lot of clients will tell me their sore points with why they don't want advertised salary, and they've got some really good points. 100%. Like, there are some good points. There are some bad points, but there are some good points. But the fact of the matter is, if you are struggling to recruit, you need to put the salary on, no matter how difficult it might be, or you accept the fact you're going to find it hard to recruit for that role.
You're going to find someone that's more accurate for the role if that's there. You know, if it's transparent and you're actively like, this is the person I'm looking for, and it demonstrates that, then you're more likely going to get people applying that are aligned to that role than maybe missing people because it's not advertised.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the general thought on flexible working hours? You know, are the EventGrads looking for something that is based at home, or a bit of a mix, or what's the general kind of feel?
I think it is a bit of a mix, because I think, you know, a lot of them especially have been studying at home, so they kind of want that in-person experiences, but they've also found that comfort of being at home. I do think for a lot of them, or from what I'm seeing anyway, a lot of them are part home, part on site, or part home, part in office. And I think that's a really good balance, because it allows you to have a better kind of, you know, work-life balance almost in some ways. And I think this generation, a lot of them have extra, you know, like the side hustles and things like that, or passion projects that they're working on, or getting involved in things, and that kind of gives them that, but also allows them to have that in-person experience. They want to be meeting their, you know, as a young person, actually, sorry, total slight digress. As a young person, the office is a really positive place to be, to learn, to be the sponge, to take things in, to improve your communication skills. I think it can be quite difficult if you're at home all the time to learn how to communicate online, you know, how to do anything online, really. I think to have that balance is really, really positive, because it allows them to work as they work, but it also allows them to be that sponge and learn and develop.
I think it's positive, like you said, but I think it's essential. I think, you know, for our the younger generation to come in and learn and grow, they're going to need the mature candidates and employees there. They need to learn and listen. And actually, this is, you know, sort of looking at the individuals, because at the moment, from my experience, the event grads or the people who are looking at the exec level are quite happy to travel into the office, but it's the other employees who are perhaps, you know, been in the industry for 10-15 years that now want to work from home. And I don't want to say this because I'm a mum of two, and I get why it's important to work from home, but we can't be that naive and selfish to think that, you know, we learn and we developed because we learned from our peers and people who'd been doing it a lot longer than us. If we're then not willing to come in the office and share our knowledge and experience with the event grads, that sounds a little bit selfish, you know. And I don't think people are doing that on purpose by any means, but again, I think it's just you know, we need to be talking about this, need to be mindful. It's not always about how it affects you, it's about others and growing the business as a whole, like, you know. So we do just need to be mindful of that. So yeah, it's really interesting that what you've just said, it sort of aligns with what I've said as well.
Absolutely. And I think that matches with them. There's, you know, like mentoring subconsciously, obviously, almost. There's the mentoring, but there's also reverse mentoring. I don't know if you've come across that term, where the young people can actually help develop those that have been in the industry for quite a while. And, you know, I think that's a really nice concept. So there's a two-way side to it. But the remote flexibility. I'm currently in Edinburgh, and the agency I'm currently working for freelance is in London, and I would not have had that opportunity otherwise. And what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that wouldn't have even been an option. So I do think the breadth of opportunities is wider with the option of remote. It is just obviously to get to London from here is a little bit more difficult, but it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think a hybrid option is, you know, so refreshing. It's very welcoming. But I think as you say, the opportunities now to work in different regions and different opportunities, it is great. Another great positive thing that's come out of the pandemic. So definitely. So what are the best ways then for, you know, if I wanted to reach out to some of your wonderful event grads who you're, I don't want to say looking after because that's not the right word, but supporting. Yeah, supporting.
I think support's a good word. I like support network. I think that sounds like a safe place.
A safe place, yeah. So if we wanted to reach out to your event grads and just, you know, give them another safe place perhaps to talk to, if anybody wanted to find out more about exhibitions and conferences, because I appreciate the event grads with you are across the board, right, in terms of all events.
Yes, so there's no exclusivity in regards to what area they want to go into.
Yeah, okay. So because I specialise in exhibitions and conferences, if there's anybody out there that wants to have a really informal, open conversation with me about, well, what does that mean? What, you know, and we call exhibitions all different things, expos, trade shows, and, you know, or a mix of conference and exhibition, confex, you know, that type. There's so much terminology, which I think can be a bit scary and daunting to people as well. And I don't think we take that, we don't think about that before we put job adverts out as well.
Yes, that's something we mentioned actually last week. And it's, you know, what you were saying in regards to the different role names as well that are out there and the different kind of what a company does. I think when young people or, you know, people coming out of university, college, whatever, they might not understand is not the right word. For example, account management or sales or marketing. That may be in the event industry, but I think as young people, when you come out of university, the first thing you type in is event coordinator or event manager or event executive. and they don't kind of look outside the box in regards to accounts. That's
yeah, yes, it's a really good
roles?
point. It's a really good point. Yeah, because we go to university, we study events management, right? So you come out and you look for event coordinator or event assistant, but actually in the world of exhibitions and conferences, let's look at event manager and what that person would have to do. So typically, event manager is broken down into 3 areas. So you've got the commercial side, the sales side, you've got the marketing side, and then you've got the operations side. And as an event manager, you are coordinating all 3 and communicating with those teams and making sure it's all coming together, okay? But yeah, it's really important to know that when you come out of university and you want to go into events, you can look for sales exec roles, working on those events. It doesn't have to just have this title of event manager or event coordinator, as you say. And then what's important is that they understand what the career path opportunities are. So, okay, if I want to be an event director on B2C shows in the world of retail, what is my career path? Where do I need to start? I think that's quite key. So, okay, typically event directors, they typically do tend to come up from the commercial side, the sales side. So if you were to look at maybe some consumer trade show organizers that had a sales exec role, you could expect to be starting there, work your way into a senior sales exec, then sales manager. Now, sales manager doesn't necessarily mean you manage a team either. Sales manager just means you're managing the sales process. And I think that can scare a lot of people. When they see sales manager, they think, oh my God, I'm not ready to manage, 3 people. So it doesn't always mean that. Again, that's just something that should be explained in detail on job descriptions and adverts. Then from sales manager, then typically you join that event manager position, and then you get the chance to try out a bit of marketing and a bit of ops. But of course, through your journey in sales, you're working closely with the marketing team and the ops team. And then when you hit that event manager role, typically the next stage is event director, where perhaps you're working with those teams across more shows, or portfolio director. So that's a great one. So then you are taking ownership of a whole portfolio. So you might work for an organizer who has a tech portfolio, a healthcare portfolio, a retail portfolio. So you get to be responsible for that portfolio. But it's this kind of terminology and job descriptions that people perhaps they might not know what that is and what it involves. So again, it's why if anybody out there wants to find out more, or just wants to understand what their career options are and where they need to start, always very, very happy to have those conversations with people as well.
That's the most in-depth, I think, description of roles I've ever heard, and I've never.
You're still awake.
no, that's amazing. I mean it in a really good way. I've never thought, looked, or seen how, in my head I know, but it's never been set in stone that an event manager is those 3 sections. That makes so much sense, and people are probably gonna be like, Naomi, why are you in the industry if you don't know that? But when do you come across that, especially over the last 2 years or whatever, when things have been so online? And I think with looking at, one thing I really enjoy doing is looking at people who work for the companies I either would want to work for, or the roles that I really like to be in, and looking at their career journeys on LinkedIn and how they got where they are.
Yeah, it's great. But a lot of the time you look at people's careers and on LinkedIn and where they've come from, and you think, wow, how did they get from there to there? Or how did they end up working for that company? And a lot of it is it's sort of who and it's about putting yourself out there. And if you have these set of skills and they're really transferable to this job description or advert you've seen, you need to be on the phone writing a cover letter which explains exactly that, because sometimes it's not obvious, is it, of how we've made that journey.
Absolutely. And what to kind of inspire to as well, and prepare, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people like to plan in advance and do their goals and how they're going to get to someone. I think that can really help you kind of map that out, or see where you want to kind of go next?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question for you, and something that I think one of the EventGrads put in the WhatsApp group recently was, so you've got titles like let's say events to begin with, but like events coordinator, executive assistant, blah, 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 manager. Is there an order to those, or does it depend? What does it depend on when it comes to like assistant, coordinator, executive? Is it like a hierarchy? Is it just depends on what's the role, or what have you seen before, or not?
To me, there isn't really any difference between an event coordinator, event assistant, or an event exec.
Yeah.
To me, there's really no difference. That they're just different ways of saying the same thing, pretty much. I mean, you know, I'm sure that doesn't work in every scenario, because it also depends on the company. So you know, it is so hard. It's so hard if, you know, when you're finding a new job, it's really hard to navigate, because everyone has their own versions of the jobs and what they mean. And you've got, you know, for me, for example, I've got a sales manager role advertised. I've got commercial sales manager, then I've got business development manager, and I kid you not, they're probably nearly almost identical. But, you know, so that's another key thing, is when you are searching for roles on Indeed, CV Library, or wherever you're looking, just use the different ways that they might be describing job descriptions. Likewise goes for if you have worked for a company and you've had a strange job title, okay, but you know it was a sales manager role, there's no harm in putting sales manager in that CV alongside that job title. Because what happens is, if I was looking for a sales manager and I went on CV Library and did a search, they're not going to come up in my search if I'm looking for sales manager and it's not in their CV.
Exactly. I've seen even like off the top of my head, companies, I think it's at Radisson Red and places like that are really funky companies, will use different like curator and things like that, different unique words, which I think is really fun for the company. But agreed, when it comes to it and you see that advertised, you're like, okay, but what does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. What does that mean? Exactly. And it is great, and I love some of the job descriptions. I've seen some brilliant ones, but at the end of the day, what you use internally is one thing, so you can be called whatever you want. What if you're a salesperson and you are reaching out to clients, you may want to use a different job title, because business development manager might make them think you're cold calling them. So a lot of people change that to account manager. It sounds more inviting. And then on LinkedIn, you might want a completely different job title, because it's not searchable. If you're looking for a new role, it's not searchable. If you don't want to change your job title on your CV, just make sure the keywords in your CV are there in your profile or something. Just make sure people can find you and that you're searchable. I get the feeling that me and you could just chat all day.
We'll do this again.
Yeah, we'll do this again. Are you going to Confex?
I am. We've got a little exhibition space in the People and Culture Hub with Diversity Ally, which is amazing.
Great. Amazing.
And I'm actually speaking about how to attract young people to your business at 3:30 on the 8th.
Excellent. Well, I will be in the audience watching and cheering you on. Expocast are also running the Big Fat Recruitment Debate on the Wednesday at 10 o'clock, I think it is. And I've got another session directly with Mash Media on the conference news, just talking a little bit about what we've been talking about, really. But you know what would be great, Naomi, is perhaps you can come along as a guest speaker on the Big Fat Recruitment Debate one time. That would be awesome.
That would be fun. That would be so good. I would love to do that. That'd be amazing.
It's really cool. We've got some great characters. If they're watching this video, they know who they are. And it's a really raw conversation about recruitment, and we're all competitors, so we're consultants, we're all recruitment consultants in the events industry, and quite a lot of the time we disagree about stuff. So it's an interesting one to watch, and I would thoroughly recommend any event. I'm sure you're telling everyone this anyway, but if there are any event grads out there who wants to find out more about the industry, you know, or what's going on, Confex is a great place to come along and network. And if anyone is freaked out about going and doesn't know what to do when they're there, I'm very happy to sit down and meet people, have a coffee, talk about where they want their career going. I can talk to them about some of the vacancies I've got at the moment and the clients that I'm working with. So if there's anyone wants to come along and meet me at Confex on the 8th or 9th, I'm very, very happy to have that conversation with them.
Amazing. That's so kind.
That's all right. No, it's fine. It's what I do. So thank you so much for having a chat with me today. It's been so nice and insightful, and it helps me as well, because as I said, I'm like, 20 years too old to know exactly what's going through the grads' mind. So it's good to get that insight. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you.